Paul, I'm with Muscatine Power and Water. We also have a $500 rebate that we offer to our electric customers for the purchase of a new or used electric vehicle. Obviously, yeah, we're looking at electric customers. If you're in another service territory, there's other utilities that are offering programs as well. Currently, we don't have rebates for the EV chargers that you might install in your garage. We looked at it as, people might, or when you're building homes, they might be adding EV chargers, but not necessarily having the car to charge it. So if you have the car, you either are going to put in a 220 plug, or you're going to be able to charge with that 120 outlet. So we focused on the car purchase itself. As far as MP&W, we bought our first electric vehicle in 2020. We have 2 more now, so that gives us a total of 3 electric vehicles. They're all Chevy Bolts. I did bring it, so anyone wants to take a look at it, it's clean. It's got about 76 miles on it so far, so fresh off the press. And happy to walk through some of the dashboard features and all of that stuff. But we're also, we have a Ford Lightning coming, so we have a truck that we'll be using. And maybe more significant in terms of fuel reduction is Ultec has what's called a GEMS unit, which is a job energy management system. And those go on our bucket trucks, where we can power the bucket trucks with electricity rather than leaving those diesel trucks idling for hours. Not only does the GEMS unit manage or provide power for the bucket trucks, it also keeps the cabins cool in the summer and warm in the winter when guys need a break when they're out in the field. And then we can also charge some of our other equipment off of those units. So we're excited to get those. Those should be here by the end of the year. So excited to get those out there, shut those trucks off. Obviously they're noisy. If one of those is parked in front of your house at 2 in the morning while they're repairing a power line or something, you'll appreciate these GEMS units as well. So on top of that, we have 4 level 2 EV chargers that we have placed around town, obviously, and I do have just some flyers. Obviously, one of those is out at our AO Center across from Fairway. Then through the Volkswagen settlement, we were awarded funding to put in 2 more in 2022. We installed one down at the Merrill Hotel, and we installed one at the Musser Library. We thought those were nice places that might get A, travelers from out of town, and B, even local people that might be in the downtown area have an opportunity to plug in if they want to. And then towards the end of 22, we were awarded another grant through the Volkswagen settlement. Each one of those was about a $15,000 award to the utility. And we put one at the mall. So tried to put them up in different locations. We also knew that there was some DC fast chargers that were going to go at Shell. So we just were trying to scatter these around so people could use those anywhere they were in town. And hopefully if you charge at the mall, you get an opportunity to walk around the park if that's, if you're looking for some things to kill, time to kill.
Okay, hello, my name is Robert Stover. My wife and I have a 2017 Chevrolet Volt, which is a plug-in hybrid. It was produced from model years 2011 through 2019, and the electric cars that were just referred to are newer than that time frame. The electric drive system includes a 18 plus kilowatt battery and 149 horsepower electric motor. The drive system the electric drive system is rated at EPA 106 miles per gallon equivalent, and the battery provides 53 miles of electric only range, which is more than enough for running around Muscatine for all day. The gas engine, which kicks in after the battery is depleted, is rated at 42 miles per gallon combined and has a 100 horsepower rating. The electric battery system, if you were comparing it to hybrid-only cars, the electric battery and motor in the Volt will provide everything you need. You can run 80 miles an hour down the highway with it without any problem, except that uses the battery charge up much faster than lower speeds.
They get you a speeding ticket too.
Some places.
In Iowa.
Some places.
Yeah.
Some places you still get fast. Our experience, we purchased the Volt in December of 19. It had 36,000 miles on it. And actually, that was just a few days after GM announced the end to the Volt production would be coming. Currently, we've got 111,000 on it, so we've driven about 75,000 miles. Like the other electric vehicles that are around here, with that battery in the bottom of the car, center of gravity is pretty low, so it corners very well. And the power numbers out of an electric motor are pretty substantial, so it's fun to drive. The Volt is the small car, and even though it is such, we have used it on several longer trips to New Jersey and Texas, and one we even went both places in that before we came home. Our experience charging, particularly at home here, I'm going to talk about, it's got a small battery compared to the other electric-only vehicles. We've got 18 kilowatt hours, whereas your Bolts have 65. So theirs are 3.5 times larger. The Volt came with a level 1 charger and can only accept level 1 or level 2 charging, not DC fast. So the level 1 charges at 120 volt outlet, and the particular one, if you've got an adapter cord, you can plug it into 220 outlet as well and get double the speed. So even at the slowest speed, it will still charge overnight, which is really the perfect design for that use of that vehicle. And even on our trips, we've been able to plug in at some hotels and get 53 miles out of the 120 volt outlets at the hotels. I've got a little information, economics for us related to and really based on the EPA ratings. On electric, which powers most of our miles here at home, and the roughly 8 cent per kilowatt hour power that's available here, the Volt costs about 3 cents a mile for energy to drive on electric. On gas at 42 with our $3 and let's just say 25 cent per gallon gas right now, that's about 7.7 cents. So electric miles cost about 40 cents or 40% the cost of gasoline miles. Even with the gasoline engine, the Volt maintenance costs are lower than comparable gasoline cars. Uses synthetic oil, and we change the oil about every 15,000 miles. And that's kind of based on the GM oil life monitor that's in the control system. At 111,000 miles, the vehicle's still on its original brakes, and we're on the second set of tires for the vehicle. Overall impressions, we have 2 other gasoline vehicles, so we've driven the Volt 75,000 miles instead of these other vehicles, and that's saved us roughly 2,500 gallons of gasoline. For us, the plug-in hybrid is a great way to experience electric vehicle without the range anxiety or en route charging delays. And I would say that driving our Volt has provided the experience that I'm ready to go to full electric on our next vehicle.
The point you made about the miles, you said it's about 3 cents per mile with electric, and that's absolutely true. And I think you said your car gets 42 miles per
42,
gallon.
yeah.
And I did a calculation on my vehicle, which gets about 18 miles per gallon, which at $3.10, that puts it at about 17.5 cents per mile with gasoline. So yeah, 42 cents, you're getting at about, or at 42 miles, you're getting at about 7.5 cents.
Hello, it's Rod Bronze. We purchased our first Tesla in 2021. We're on our 4th one now. Really like them. My wife had pretty bad range anxiety when we first got them because this was my idea, not hers. So I had to be really careful where we were going, make sure I kept it charged up and everything. But she's gotten over that. She loves them now. We love them. I got a lot of info here on them, but it's more of a back and forth, any questions people have. I've gone 3 years without doing an oil change on any of my vehicles now, which is great. Really very minimal maintenance. You add washer fluid to it. They recommend servicing your brakes because with the regenerative braking, you don't use your brake pads near as much. When you let off the throttle, the cars slow down. They're charging the batteries, they slow down. And you get used to the one pedal driving, you just hardly ever press the brake at all. Another thing that Teslas have is their full self-driving software package they're coming out with. That's something I'm like even more than the vehicle. I ordered the first one just to see if we liked it. And it was for my wife, and I got jealous that she was driving it all the time, so then we had to order another one for me. But the full self-driving software, the Tesla, in my mind, is an excellent all-around vehicle. It's probably the best vehicle I've ever owned. But the software on top of that is something that I'm very excited about. I have elderly aunts and mother-in-law, and they're to the point where they can't drive or they don't like driving at night. And I was one of the OG testers on this FSD software, and I've seen how much has progressed from when I started testing it to where it is now, and it's amazing. You know, it's coming. And I remember years ago when I first heard of like the Google car, and I'm like, there's no way a car's ever going to drive for me. Absolutely not. But I drive almost 100% with it anymore. There's very few times I don't have it turned on when I'm driving. And I look forward to the point where you can get in your car and go to sleep. If you're on a trip, you can go to sleep and wake up and you're there. Basically, I find it so much more relaxing when you're driving because you can actually look around and enjoy your ride. You still have to pay attention. They're not fully autonomous yet, but it's very relaxing to drive that way. And I've had people that's used it and they feel the same way. So on top of just being an EV, which is really nice and fun to drive, the whole software side of it, and they constantly get updates, so it changes the whole way the car behaves and how it acts. So it's almost like getting a new car with every update. So it's pretty exciting, and I'm a big proponent of, and my knowledge is the Teslas. I don't know much about the other ones, but I'll answer any questions anyone has as we go on, and I'm happy to show the car. It's out front, so.
Can you comment semi-technically on how it actually works, the self-driving?
So they just upgraded their last version. It's a full neural net now. So it used to be a lot of computer code. Well, they've deleted over 300,000 lines of code with this last update, and it's mostly all neural network, so it's basically AI. So they train this software by showing lots of video of how the car should drive, and they just show it over and over again. And that's how the software learns, and they just keep sending out updates. And now it's pretty much all neural. There's 8 cameras on the car, and so as signals come in and controls come out.
So there is no GPS at all? It's just all...
No, it's all vision based. Yeah, you don't have to be connected to the internet or anything like that. It's all a vision based system and I'd be happy to.
Is that how the other cars work also?
No,
Like
you know,
cars
like
where-
some of the
Like you're
cruise
coming up on someone and the car will slow down on my dad?
Yeah, this has that as well, the adaptive cruise control and stuff. This car will literally slow down, it will pass vehicles and everything else all on its own. There's a lot of different settings you could tweak as a driver to what you want it to do. But I could turn it on in the parking lot here. Well, I went to Iowa City yesterday and I turned it on in my driveway and it drove all the way up and I had no interventions at all. I mean, it turns corners. I live on gravel, so it drives on gravel, it drives on the highway. But some of the other, like Cruise and some of the other ones, they use LiDAR and stuff on their cars as well. But Tesla does not. They went to a vision-only approach.
You have to prompt it to speed up or slow down?
No, it will do that on its own. It will change speeds with the speed limit. I mean, there's a lot
Because
of...
it visually sees the signs.
Yes, and some of it's built into the maps on, it's got like a Google map view also on the, but it will speed up, slow down, turn corners, stop, accelerate. It doesn't, you're literally just sitting there riding for the most part.
I think I just read something where Google Maps is upgrading so that, or it's changing, so that it can connect better to some of these the utilities that are in the cars. Yeah.
That would be good, because a lot of the times when I do have to take over, it's based on the navigation, which is a Google map. But there's times that, you know, I know where I'm going and it wants to go a different route or take a longer route, so I'll turn it off, then it go where I want to go, then I'll turn it back on and it will re-navigate. But those features are really, really nice.
Thank you.
Hey, Lobianco. So I have the Ford Mach-E, so it's an all-electric car, came out in 2021. I'm so glad that the other people are here. Ford definitely is not caught up with Tesla yet. The best that Ford offers you is what they call Blue Cruise, so you can take your hands off the steering wheel if you're on the interstates that they have already pre-mapped. So if they haven't mapped those interstates, you know, I'm sorry, you're back to driving, and I want his car to take me to the grocery. In fact, I want his car to just go to the grocery store and bring my groceries home. I've got everything else figured out. I just want the car, go get the groceries, people, put them in the car, come home, we got it. Anyway, so mine is a 2021, so I've had it for 3 years, really have had no issues with it. I do not have the luxury yet. Ford has worked on that deal. I'm just waiting for my adapter to charge at certain Tesla stations. So I understand when he talks about Jenny having that range anxiety, because you do have to pay attention, because for me, we are not all one system. So for him, map a course, it will figure out where all the charging stations
Yeah.
are if needed. Mine, I think with the Volkswagen thing, it was a free-for-all. So you have ChargePoint, you have, let me see, what's the other, Electrify America, you have the
Ego.
Shell Station, the
Well, sure.
Ego. I've got a whole bunch of apps on my phone that I'm gonna have to just, okay, so in this area, where are the main chargers? So this area may be in Electrify America area, so up and around Chicago. If I go down to Missouri, well, this may just be one of those Ego ones, and so I'm gonna pull up that app to find those. So it's a little more daunting if you're gonna take it on a trip. But again, it's a great car, and they've talked all about is, you know, with the power and water rates to charge. I have a charging system in my garage. It's just like what you need to run a dryer on. It charges overnight, so it's ready to go. Similar thing as everybody else. It's great for running around in town. If you got appointments in Iowa City or the Quad Cities, it's great to go there and back. And it's not like you're charging it every day. So that's a plus. You know, until you start doing the charging in the network, and I don't know what Tesla charges, that's where you start to get maybe to a break-even point. I always figure power and water is 12 cents a kilowatt hour. So when I go look at other places to do charging, when, you know, I'm starting to see, they're charging 35 cents. Well, I'm probably getting to a break-even point of electric car or a typical, other than I don't have the maintenance involved in it. You know, you get in Electrify America, sometimes they can be pretty pricey. And I did look up the Shell recharge ones that they just put in Muscatine. They're charging 54 cents a kilowatt hour. So there's a lot of give and take out there. You can find the 30-cent ones, you can find the 54-cent ones, and you just have to be a little bit smarter shopping for where you're gonna charge if you can't charge at home or if you're on the road.
Is that price listed on the charger, or how do you?
Yes. Yeah, so that's what I did. I pulled up whatever their app is for the Shell, and I could look at how much they were gonna charge me. So that's the only reason I know it's 53 cents a kilowatt hour to charge there. So that would probably be on the pricey side for me, but yeah, it's all good.
Thank you.
Okay. You're up.
I'm up. Tom Roth with Eastern Iowa REC. This is Max. I'll let Max chime in if he likes to. But we have a Chevy Bolt. We purchased the Bolt in 19, so it's actually a 2019 Bolt. Depending on what comparison you're using, what make and model, you know, I would say electric vehicle is 4 to 6 times more cost effective than your typical combustible engine Range anxiety, as I mentioned, is real. I remember when we first purchased the Bolt, we drove out to Des Moines, and it was in January, and it was about 20 degrees out. And I will say that the gauge is consistent. It doesn't just all of a sudden drop 20 to 50 miles. It's pretty consistent. So, but I remember turning the heat up, watching the gauge go down, turning the heat off, and the gauge going back up. And you know, by the time we got out there, we had plenty of range left. But for a while there, we were kind of like going, But so range anxiety is real. But in electric vehicles, I think they're great. It's not a one size fits all. Just depends on the application, right? Like we learned with the Ford Lightning, somebody hooked up to it to pull a load, and all of a sudden their range went from 300 miles to 50 miles. So it just depends on what you want to use the vehicle for. At Eastern, we rebate the charger. So it's a $350 rebate is what we offer. So it's up to 50% of the installed cost. We also offer for commercial $1,000 rebates. I think there's a max of 5 chargers that will rebate. And then some other incentives we have is we have a super off-peak rate. So if you want to charge that vehicle from 12 to at night to 6 a.m., you know, you can get it at almost about 2.5 cents less than your normal rate. So those are some ways that we encourage our members to charge during those hours. And they can use electricity if they want to wash clothes during that time. It's just not dedicated for an electric vehicle. So Eastern, we did install 3 level 2 chargers within our service territory last year, so those are up and running. So I guess I think everybody else about covered everything. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, just to echo what Don said, you know, with the super off-peak rate, I think based on you have maybe 30 of our members signed up, so not a large percentage, but you know, they're all saving, granted, it's, you know, maybe tens of dollars a month, that all adds up, you know, because if you use at least kind of 25% of your electricity, and if I remember correctly, you know, charging is at least more often than not 30% or so, if not more, of your kind of daily or monthly usage. So almost anybody that has an EV in our service territory is going to be getting a better rate, saving money on their bill if they are on that super off-peak rate. So 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the right choice for them.
Does that take a separate meter, or is that just based on time?
It's just based on time. There's a meter needed for the super off-peak. If it's just, you know, our meter tech at the office, we have someone, you know, say you want it, you feel like submitting an application that same day. If he's not busy, he's able to process the application and switch it over, and you'll see the results pretty quick there.
Where are your 3 chargers at?
We have one at Scott County Park up by Eldridge. Then we have one at our main office in Wilton, and the other one's at our Wapello office. It's been limited activity. They still say 95% of the charging is going to be done at your home, but you know, still, you know, we wanted to kind of light up the 61 corridor is what our thought was. So.
We've got some people in the audience that are electric vehicle owners. Please join in.
Well, I commented about level 2 chargers. We've been EV drivers for over 10 years. We bought a 2013 Volt, 2017 Volt, 2019 Tesla Model 3, and 2023 Model Y. At any rate, everybody talks about how fast will it charge, you know, and what's the range and everything, and everybody is focused on this speed. Gotta be fast. And I keep saying they need to be everywhere. If you've got a level 2 charger at the bowling alley, at the mall, somebody said you got one at the mall, the movie theater. I mean, if you put them everywhere, people, especially who can't charge at home, could be charging every time they stop to do something. And I would like to see more incentives to businesses to put a charger or two out front, because I know the level 2s, they're not that expensive to put in. What does it cost to put in a level 2 charger?
Treading on dangerous water here, but don't quote me on this, but I want to say that our installs were somewhere around the 13,000 range a piece. So it's not like your typical charger that you would hook up at your home.
Right.
It's a little, it's got to be able to accept credit cards or apps and things like that. And it's, also depends on if you get dual ports or single ports, and
Sure.
is it an 80 amp or is it a 40 amp? So there's a lot of variables there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not cheap to install. Maybe Paul has.
Yeah, so ours, with the incentive, we ended up spending another 15 to 20,000. And that was to run power underground to these locations. So
Yeah.
there are some expenses, and that is something we were kind of talking about earlier is, if you build them and then wait for people to come, or do you wait till people buy them and then you start installing them? Because most, as you pointed out, most charging does happen at home. And so, we have the 4 chargers. We track all kinds of data on it, but since 2020, like I said, we put 1 in at Power and Water, and then 3 more in 2022. We've had about 2,200 charges combined on that. So over 4 years, and we provided just shy of 24,000 kilowatt hours. So there is kind of this, I think Shell maybe, they got grants to put these in, knowing that, hey, they're not probably going to be utilized as much as they will in the Des Moines area, and that's maybe why they're charging 50-some cents a kilowatt hour, is just trying to recoup some of those costs, but have them available. And so, there is this tricky balance.
It is, because then you start pushing in, what are you gonna peak at? And so then electricity, just all electric companies are like, well, you hit over this peak amount, now we have to charge you more because it cost us more. So it is a very slippery slope of how do you manage everything. However, to your point, if you go to the grocery store, so I know in the Quad Cities, Hy-Vee has several Tesla charging stations, and it makes sense because you're there for a period of time that you could charge. So even if you're there for 20 minutes or a half an hour, that's a decent amount of charging. And then the other thing is just making sure you do good health to your battery. Don't really want to charge it over 80% typically, and you don't want to let it go below I think 20 or 25%, something like that. So that's just trying to keep your battery pack healthy and happy, and same for your cell phones and all of that, just general things of how we make batteries and keep them happy and healthy.
Marketing fits into it too. For locations, let's just talk about the city of Muscatine. People who are driving electric vehicles and they're coming in from out of town, maybe they want to do lunch, or there's some kind of an event going on and they want to be part of it. They may think, well, I'm going to need to charge while I'm here. Having charging stations available for the public is all part of a greater marketing strategy to attract people to the area. Probably, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we had a speaker who came from Iowa City. She was driving a Leaf at the time, and she was pretty clear that at that time she went places that had charging stations, and she didn't go places that didn't have charging stations. And if you're planning a route someplace and you're going out of town, you're looking for those places, and so Jenny's nerves don't get crazy. You're going to be looking for places that you can charge, and if a place doesn't have anything, that's a place you're probably going to stay away from.
It's true. We take advantage of the destination chargers. A lot of different hotels have them, and I have an app on my phone, but the car will break out them as well. But if I'm planning my route, I'll look for a destination charger as far as where we're going to spend the night. And we leave in the morning, the car's all charged up, and we just keep going. So it is very handy, and you're seeing more and more of them out there.
So does your Tesla, can it charge at a non-Tesla charging place? Do you
Yeah,
have
if
it?
you had the adapter, but generally Tesla has so many chargers.
But I'm just saying, I mean, if I have the Bolt and I want to go to a Tesla, it sounds like you can't even have the adapter yet.
Well, they have opened, Tesla has opened up the charging stations, and I think this is the first year, I think Ford was one of the first ones that jumped on, and they're gonna start coming out with adapters and allow you to use the Tesla. I don't think it's all of the chargers,
No,
but
it has
it's,
to be a certain level.
but they are allowing more vehicles to
Yes.
use them.
They're gonna share well, thank you.
It's really unfortunate, I guess. 'Cause you go anywhere and it's all standard electric sockets and really, you guys can't get together on this.
Well, Tesla did, they call it the North American Charging Standard, and that's what all the, majority of the manufacturers are going to now.
They're all
They
transitioning there.
were all different, but,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
like the Chad, I don't know, the Chad ME charger, whatever they call it, it's great
Should
big,
they
but the
go-
Tesla one is a lot smaller, so that's kind of the standard that they're going to. So as you go forward, you'll see a lot more of that style.
Sorry, Society of Automotive Engineers, you lost out on the plug design.
So, and the Tesla, if you want to go anywhere, you can go anywhere you want to in a Tesla. Basically, you may not be able to go all the way across Canada, up north anyway. If you're going, we drove to Alaska, we didn't take the Tesla. We drove our Volt to Alaska when we drove. But the Tesla, we got a brand new 23 Tesla end of March last year. And we have over 24,000 miles on it. So, I mean, in 13 months, we've gone coast to coast. We've gone out to Seattle a couple of times. We just go all over the place. And with the Tesla, and it's gonna be that way for your Ford and whatever,
No, it'll be.
you
there.
don't have any trouble. There are chargers. When we bought our first Tesla in 2019, you couldn't go across North Dakota. But now North Dakota has the interstate covered, but not in 2019 when we got our first one. But really, you can go, we don't really have range anxiety because.
No, we don't either anymore, and, you know, we're all in on them, and it's not a problem. There are certain places, when we were in southern Colorado, you had to think about it a little bit, where you're going, just to make sure you had enough juice to get back and stuff, but they'll plug into just a wall outlet. It's just the smaller the outlet, the slower they're gonna charge. I mean, it doesn't have to be an EV charger, it could, you know, there's 220 plug-ins, you know, the NEMA 50s that they can plug into and get a pretty quick charge out of them, so they are pretty versatile.
I have a couple of questions. Are you familiar with this truck, the Rivian, they call it? What do you know about that?
A lot of good reviews on them, they're made over in Peoria.
Yeah. Then the second question is, you know, when we talk about these different presenters, a lot of times it's focused on money, like, you know, how much you're saving. Do you have any information on the impact of like climate change, your carbon footprint with respect to going from a gas-driven, diesel-driven vehicle to electric? Do you have anything like that? The electric companies or the buyers, do you think that way, or is it?
That wasn't the reason I purchased mine. I think it's just a better vehicle on top of all of that. Mine has a 75 kilowatt battery and I charge off peak with REC. I don't have a super rate, but mine's 8 cents a kilowatt off peak. So if it was all the way empty, it would cost me $3 to fill up, you know, so that's, I have an old 2002 Chevy truck I drive occasionally, and every time I fuel up, I'm like, geez, I can't wait for that electric truck
This
to
is a
show
bad
up.
carbon footprint? No.
So, yeah, I didn't bring any information on it with, or I didn't bring it with me, but, yeah, we do have information, cradle to grave. The electric vehicles have less of a carbon impact, or, yeah. Obviously, at the beginning stages with the batteries, the carbon footprint is high, but over the life of the vehicle, it outpaces your gas engines. So lower carbon footprint out of the gate, but by the end of the grave
Overall.
stage, overall.
I'd like to add into that.
You
I've read-
should, you should provide that to us.
Yeah,
So just-
I'll work with Sue and get
Yeah.
that information.
'Cause I
I've
think
read
that's
the
really
report
valuable.
from the Union of Concerned Scientists, who I trust to be accurate. And in answer to your question is, even if your electricity is 100% from a coal-fired generator, that's basically equivalent to getting 35 miles per gallon on the car. Iowa's electricity is like 60% renewable. So you can do whatever you want with that. And the deal about, you hear things about, oh, they're worse because it takes so much energy to make the battery and all that. The Union of Concerned Scientists say that depending on how much you drive, yeah, it takes more to build the car, a bigger footprint to build it, but within 2 years, or maybe a little less, you've paid all that back, and then all the rest of it is good
That's great.
for the economy. So
Yeah.
bottom line is, yeah, it's much, much better than an ICE vehicle.
Yeah. It's good to know.
And they spoke about the batteries too. They're fully recyclable, so, you know, they foresee it in the future, basically a closed loop. So you're gonna have enough cobalt and everything you need, and you're gonna be able to recycle, so that footprint's gonna come down as more and more EV adoption happens.
Can you speak about the kind of evolution of batteries? Because I had a Tesla, parked it at the parking lot of an airport. It was fully charged. It was like 20 below zero. It was the winter, and came back and it was on fumes. Has it improved? Is it improving? How
Yeah,
is it improving?
they're constantly updating
Yeah.
their chemistry. They even have batteries without any cobalt in them now for their standard range cars. And to the point about the charging, that those can charge all the way to 100%. They're designed to charge all the way up and use all the way down. It doesn't affect them because it doesn't have the lithium in them like some of the older batteries. But I know a Tesla has Sentry mode, they have cabin overheat protection, and they have settings in there to keep the cabin warm too. So depending on what you had turned on in your car, and I don't know what year this was.
It was just parked. It was
But-
just parked in the
Yeah, but
airport.
even parked, Sentry
it's-
mode in my car
Really?
could use up to 20% of your battery if it's just sitting there, because it's got the 8 cameras. Every time someone walks by, it's filming them. You know, it saves all that data. So you could turn those settings off and it will last a lot longer.
Right.
And the older cars had, the newer Teslas had heat pumps, so it's a lot more efficient as far as heating them and cooling them.
Yeah, and I've experienced what you were sharing, where I was driving to Des Moines, and it's told me, I'm shutting down the HVAC, and I'm like, it was like 20 degrees, I'm like, what? And it's like, you need to go 65 now, right? So it's smart, but yeah, that was, talk about range anxiety, that was intense.
So
We've got
when
some data over here on,
Well, I just wanted to share that with our Volt. I get a report every month from Chevy on the OnStar. And for March, it says estimated CO2 avoided, 637 pounds.
That's great.
So I look at that every month and feel pretty good.
Yeah.
What is that on?
We're on a Chevy Bolt.
Does Tesla-
And so I get that every month, how much CO2 we've avoided. And I think that's an important number.
As far as the
Especially for
range
this
anxiety,
organization, yeah.
we got our first Tesla in '21, and there was a charger, a DC fast charger in the Quad Cities, and there was one in Iowa City. And I have daughter and grandkids in Cedar Falls, so we would drive up there quite a bit. Now there's 2 chargers in Iowa City, 2 chargers in the Quad Cities, charger at I-80 truck stop, charger in Cedar Rapids, charger in Waterloo. So going to Des Moines, now they've added in Grinnell, there's a supercharger. So they're putting chargers in all the time, and they're gonna continue to do so. So the range anxiety will be less and less going forward. When we would drive to Des Moines, if you didn't charge in Iowa City, the next one was in Des Moines. There were no Tesla chargers in between, and now there are.
That's when it was telling me that.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God. Yeah.
I've got to remember that at one point, there weren't gas stations on every corner of the
Correct.
big fuel tanks in the
We all
ground. That
remember,
was, you
they
know,
were
if I
not
was
out, yeah.
I think when they
Person.
started, you'd go down to the pharmacy and get a quart of gasoline. And while everybody was, using their horse and buggy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
if I was-
so, you're right, Paul.
Yeah, if I was a horse and buggy salesman,
I miss that.
100 and some years ago, I'd have been like, this is never gonna work. Well, look at it now. I can't fall down without hitting my head on a gas tank sometimes, or pumps. So we'll get there, and yeah, it just doesn't move as fast as we want, but yeah, as to your point, yeah.
I have another question. So with, like you were alluding to, I think, to the school districts and buses, school buses, is that, are you seeing a lot of that?
So I reached out to the post office, because that to me was a perfect or a perfect opportunity, since the travel is pretty minimal, you charge every night. And at that point, I don't know what they told me, but in Muscatine, they weren't going to be converting to electric vehicles. School buses, there's programs out there to get incentives. Where the school bus parking is not in our service territory, so they wouldn't reach out to us as much as they might you guys if they were to go down that path. But we've talked to the Musca Bus. They're still looking at getting another city bus that's electric, so we're working with them on charging and things of that nature. There's a few, Ruan, they're again starting in Des Moines with some electric trucks. So they don't have plans to bring any here yet, but some of those OTRs will be electric eventually. So.
I think Iowa City is doing a lot of electric vehicles,
Yeah.
both the city and the school district.
Yeah, yeah. And Hy-Vee was one that was, we talked with Hy-Vee a lot. There's just not a big enough footprint of electric vehicles at our local Hy-Vee to justify to them anyways to put in EVs yet. But again, they do all those studies, and when they're ready, we'll, yeah.
Do you know price-wise? So like these school, we just bought one for West Liberty and it was super expensive. Right now, is comparable, less,
For
an electric one?
Do
you have any?
I think they're more, so yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you the numbers we did look at one point in time, but they were, yeah, they are more expensive, but less
Initially,
maintenance.
but like, yeah.
And they said idle, so yeah, there's, I don't know, those GEMS units that I was talking about, how often do we walk by buses that are just sitting there at ball games idling, and you got the driver sitting in them, so those electric vehicles with maybe a GEMS unit or something that's, yeah.
So you say a gem shoe, is that just a battery pack?
Yeah, essentially it's a battery pack, yeah.
How big is it?
I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't remember what we ordered.
Enough to run an 8-hour shift?
Yeah, yep. And I suppose it all depends on how much you're using it as well, but yes, there's.
Sure.
And I know there's been talk that if needed, you could plug in a gas generator, to charge them again, but for the most part, especially with our service territory.
So
still
it
using the
doesn't come
motor.
with its own diesel fuel generator? You can't charge it out in the field?
I don't know what they use to charge. I suppose it would be hard for us to find a place that would let us plug in and charge.
Well, no, I meant the gym pack itself doesn't have a small generator to repower the battery in the event that you've got a really long day and you're out. So if you run out of battery power, then the truck just switches over to running on the engine?
It will, yes, it can do either. So yes, you have the capabilities of if it were a 12, 14-hour day. And I don't know what those Altex.
Yeah, related to his question, do you see many battery packs in lieu of like propane generators, say, in the community or in the rural areas?
As far as like a
Backup
Tesla
power.
wall, or for like?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean,
For backup power in case, they lose.
I mean, you're starting to see more and more, but I don't think the price is there yet to make it cost effective. But once it gets there, yeah, you'll definitely see more. But, we've, back to the GEMS trucks, yeah, we've researched those also. I think they're a great addition for safety and being able to, you know, use the battery versus letting that motor run 8 hours a day. Because now you're getting, instead of getting 7 years out of a vehicle, you might be able to get 10 years out of that same vehicle. But, you know, you're using the motor to get you from point A to point B, you're just using the gems for the bucket to get you up and down, so
Where's that made?
I couldn't tell you.
I was just kind of looking to see what it had. But yeah, sitting idle is equivalent to driving 25, sitting idle for an hour of these trucks is equivalent to driving 25 miles. So every hour you're not, you're saving that. And they don't get the best fuel mileage.
Something for Stephanie, I want to say before I forget it, I don't know whether you're aware, you should be, are you aware that you have to ask for your free
I
charger?
do.
And
I'm
we have to
waiting.
do that before the end of June?
Yes, it was.
Or maybe it's the first of.
Maybe at the end of May, but yeah, yes, you needed to do that. So,
Yeah, just to make sure you get
Yeah,
your,
no, yeah.
otherwise they'll
They'll
charge
charge
you.
you. Yes, they will. We're just waiting. Maybe we'll get one day.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today and for speaking. We really appreciate it. It's been a good conversation.